Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Good evening. I just feel like a lot of our listeners today are thinking, how much more of this can we take? You know, we've got probably another 4 years of this absolute disaster of a government messing pretty much everything up. And what can we do about it? I think people are already at boiling point, don't you?
I do, and you've tweeted, we'll read it out in just a minute, you've tweeted something, Rupert Lowe's tweeted something. More and more people in prominent positions, politicians, observers like yourself, commentators, are starting to say exactly what you tweeted, that there's this feeling. I mean, you know, we're used to governments not being all that good, to being pretty inefficient. It's what happens with politicians, because none of them have got, or very few of them have got much experience of real life, and they're just not very good at dealing with reality. So we're used to governments being fairly incompetent. But Starmer and his gang have taken it on to a new level. So if we put up your tweet here. Where's Isabel's tweet, please? Yeah, how can I can't quite see it here. I haven't got a copy of it, so I'll have to read that out later.
Basically, I was saying, how can the country bear another 4 years of this? You know, the crashing incompetence, the tanking economy, the refusal to stop the boats, the ministers who won't give basic answers to basic questions, the fracturing of communities, the filth piling up on our streets, the immigration judges who seem to be determined to turn Britain into a giant trash can. I was looking at a story today about a foreign criminal who's being allowed to stay in this country, I kid you not, because he's a drug addict.
Oh, no, you missed half the point. He's a drug addict, and if he gets sent back to Uganda, he may suffer mental health struggles, because they might not help him with his opioid addiction, whereas, thank God, here in Britain, he's broken the law 42 times, been to prison umpteen times, but thank God we'll be able to help him through his mental health anguish. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I mean, it's precisely why he should be deported, because he is a drug addict. You know, I don't know what it is about these immigration tribunal judges that seem to think that our country is a giant charity, with all of us forced to donate to a series of lost causes. We're not a charity, we're a country, and our first duty is to the people of this country, not an endless succession of people who come in and don't contribute, or worse, break the law, and are then allowed to stay, having made up a bunch of absolute nonsense. I mean, this particular guy, initially, one of his reasons for asking to stay was that he was gay and he'd be persecuted if he went back. When that failed, it changed to another argument.
And why can't we know his name? Why do these immigration courts protect the identity of these people? Our justice system is supposed to be transparent. No one else gets this treatment. Why do we close down transparency when it comes to asylum seekers? But no one else gets this privilege.
I absolutely have no idea. But here's the thing. This is just one of the many absolutely disastrous things that are happening in our country every single day. And I feel like today just felt like a particular day of shame. You know, another day, another screeching U-turn from this government. And I'm sure we'll come to that. But we
will. But I thought, I mean, you pointed this out this morning. And of course, we're going to talk about Keir's strange approach to the need for a rape gang inquiry. Suddenly changes his mind dramatically today. And I just don't understand. We'll talk about that in a minute. I don't understand why him and his robot cabinet were the last people in the country to realise this. It was quite clear. You know, he didn't need Baroness Casey's report to know about the seriousness of this. I mean, what is wrong with him? We'll talk about that in just a minute. But yeah, let me just, I've got your tweet now. It's how can our country, listen to this, folks. How can our country bear another 4 years of this? The crashing incompetence, the ignorance, the gaslighting, the U-turns, the ministers who can't give a basic answer to a basic question, the far-right slurs, the refusal to stop the boats, the tanking economy, the fracturing of communities, the filth piling up on our streets, the immigration judges who are turning the UK into a giant trash can. Latest example, the foreign criminal we were just talking about. We are a year in. Imagine this time next year and the one after and the one after that. And Rupert Lowe, he tweeted, well, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long, but he said, walk down any high street in England. There's a vape shop run by a foreign man who can barely speak English. There's a Turkish barber run by a foreign man who can barely speak English. There's an Asian grocery store run by a foreign man who can barely speak English. Character gone, community gone, independent British shops mostly wiped away. It just doesn't feel like England anymore. I'm not saying I've ever tried to do this, but I know people who have. You try and get a haircut in one of these Turkish barbers. They barely know how to pick the scissors up. So you can, God knows what it is they're actually doing, but it's not cutting hair. Why are there sort of country villages with a population of about 500 that have 5 Turkish barbers? Nothing is being done about this, and this is the problem. Keir Starmer, his lack of empathy, I think, his inability to listen, his inability to look around and see what's happening to this country must be contributing in a major way to this palpable sense of serious decline. It must be something to do with this current leader we've got and his hopeless cabinet.
Well, he just doesn't seem to get it. You know, he doesn't seem to connect with ordinary people, or really with any people. I mean, I don't know who he does connect with, but rarely have I known a prime minister so unable to look and sound normal, to look and sound as if he understands why it is that so many voters feel so frustrated, feel so betrayed, feel so let down. He just doesn't seem to get that. He seems to exist in a kind of bubble of, you know, hashtag be kind politics, the condemnation and smearing of anyone to the right of where he is, which is frankly most of the population, and an endless travel circuit of globe trotting. And that's not to mention, I should have put in my tweet actually, the sellout of this country, you know, the extraordinary betrayal, which was the giving away of the Chagos Islands, you know, which is so symbolic, I think, of his attitude to our country and our proud history and our place in the world. And it is just genuinely shocking what he's presided over in such a short period of time, and the absolute mediocrity of his cabinet. Now, there are a few honourable exceptions. In fact, Yvette Cooper today, I know you don't like her, you call her Calamity Cooper, but she is an experienced politician. I think she's been Home Secretary before, actually, in the Labour years. You know, so she, in a government of total lightweights, I would say that Yvette Cooper is probably among the least worst. But the examples every day, including interviews on this station, of ministerial muppetry and mediocrity that takes some absolute beating.
It really does. And, you know, he's in Canada for the G7 summit. I suppose he has to be there. But does he have to post pictures of him amid that striking Rocky Mountain scenery, go, not a bad spot, and then hit him and Mark Carney drinking beer at the hockey game, all having a great idea. Now, I do realise that our leader, our dear leader, has to go to these events, the G7 summit. But he would be far better off right now being in Ballymena to understand what's going on. to maybe not join in, as he basically has done so far, with this chorus of inadequate nonsense as the First Minister of Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill, and the local police chief say, this is just racism, that's all it is. It's just mindless violence. So here we are again. It's Southport all over again. Don't listen to what these protesters are protesting about. In fact, pretend they're not actually protesting about anything. Pretend that they're just mindless thugs who want to destroy things, who want to be violent. Well, that isn't good enough, because there is a reason for what's happening in Ballymena, just as there was a reason for what happened in Southport last year and across towns and cities all over the country. It was incredible, rising levels of intense of intense frustration with the migrant crisis. They are furious with the migrant crisis. So Ballymena, 2 Romanian kids, 14-year-old kids, are in court charged with the oral rape of a local girl. We know about Southport. That was when the crowd thought it was a migrant who may have committed those appalling crimes in the dance hall. And of course the Prime Minister and the authorities did nothing to dispel that. They allowed the misinformation to spread. In fact, they weren't that wrong. I mean, it wasn't a migrant, it was the son of a migrant. So you can say the migrant crisis played a part in what happened in Southport. So the crowd last year, fed up to hell with the effects of the migrant crisis, seeing our country, as Rupert Lowe said, being changed, different. It's not what it used to be. Everything seems to be changing, and the foreigners who've come to invade our society, you know, have been let in, the asylum seekers all over the country, they seem to be bringing about a kind of cultural dilution. Now, all of which a proper Prime Minister and his cabinet should be listening to and trying to do something about. What does this Prime Minister and what does his cabinet do? They go, far-right thugs, mindless, there's no reason for this. Well, if you keep not addressing the reason for this rising tide of social unrest, then it is a recipe for guaranteed disaster. And when Nigel Farage says he fears this summer there will be riots all across the country again, I think he's probably right. I take no relish in that. But when we have a government and a Prime Minister who literally refuses to listen to what people are protesting about and pretends it's that there's these weird automaton right-wing thugs who just want to break things and set fire to things for no apparent reason, well, that is going to lead to the kind of unrest that probably we haven't seen so far. It's really bad.
I mean, the truth is that we're a very accepting and tolerant society. And if life was definitely getting better for people, and if the massive influx of incomers was actually contributing to a booming economy, to everything, to the quality of life being higher, then I don't think the British people would have a problem with it. But the thing is, if you're going to import millions of people, you also have to build the roads and the schools and the hospitals and all the other infrastructure to accommodate them. And we've done the worst possible thing. We've imported all these people. We're unable to pick and choose, it seems, between importing high-skilled and zero skills whatsoever. And we haven't catered for them in a way that doesn't disadvantage the existing population. So it's hardly surprising the whole place is a tinderbox.
Well, we're going to talk about in a little while how, at least in one area, in Cumbria, and this is what gets people really fed up. You know, people can't get to see GPs, they can't get to see their doctors. It's a real national scourge. And yet in Cumbria, and I'm sure it's not the only county where this is happening, or area, they've got a special priority system for asylum seekers to get to see their doctors. So they get to see GPs very, very fast. The local British citizens, not so fast. That, again, is a recipe for disaster. People are liable to get very fed up about that, and you can understand why. Once again, what is Keir Starmer doing about this? Old two-tier Keir. I don't even think he's noticing it's happening, and that is a massive problem. When we come back, Isabel, we're going to talk about this extraordinary rape gang inquiry U-turn that the Prime Minister has suddenly staged over the last couple of days. All of his acolytes who back in January were falling with him and said, if you're calling for a rape gang inquiry, you're climbing on board the far-right bandwagon. I mean, what a thing to say. You want some justice, maybe, for the 250,000 poor, vulnerable, young white girl victims. 250,000 who were raped, abused, fed drugs, treated like animals, tortured. You want justice for that? And the Prime Minister tells you want justice for that. You must be far right. You're climbing on a far-right bandwagon. All of his politicians said, oh, the Prime Minister's right. Yeah, we don't need a national inquiry. No, we don't. No. Maybe a few local inquiries. Oh, no, let's not even have them. We don't need them. Suddenly, they're all going, yes, the Prime Minister's absolutely right. We must have a national inquiry. What are these people? They're like sort of seals at the zoo that you throw fish to, only they're not quite as intelligent as that.